truly believe that because there's evidence of that. When people come back and clean, look at Brooklyn Heights, Dumbo down in Brooklyn Bridge Park. Gorgeous place. I would love to live there now because everybody came in and brought back what we know, and that's respect to our little niche, and it is infectious. So that's the only thing we can do. And never let them win. Always go down swinging, I say. Any other questions? Next time I'll come and show my coral reef lecture. But I kind of want, I think this is important that we know how carbon works and who's controlling the show. And the boss is in the upper 5 millimeters of water. Without him, if the ocean gets too warm and too acidic, we're not absorbing stuff that fish can eat. And if fish can't eat, we're going to starve, as well as the world's thermostat is going to go through the roof. So next time someone tells you, is it a natural cycle, just ask them, are we polluting more? Are we cutting down more trees? Are we affecting the sink strength, the vacuum cleaner strength? Absolutely. Doesn't take a rocket scientist to know that. You don't need to be a Ph.D. to see that the rainforests were cut and that the world is changing for not such a pretty place anymore. Yes?
Do you think that human beings actually have an impact? I mean, there's, say, 6 billion of us now versus back when, we're breathing, exhaling, right?
I don't know.
Does that...
We're a cancer.
It must have some...
Our presence on this organism called planet Earth. I look at Earth as like, I kind of do like the Gaia hypothesis, which is Earth is a living, breathing organism. There's a lot of poetry to it. However, it is sort of a living, breathing organism, and humans are a cancer in it. And the evidence is hundreds of millions of years, natural ecosystems survived outside of the meteor impact. And what we're doing to it in the last 200 years is just... I'm a cell biologist, a pathologist. I work with cancer and diseases. Human beings, if you look at human beings like a pathogenic plague, we are a plague. We're just destroying everything that sustains us, that keeps us healthy.
But outside of the detrimental things we do, just our sheer...
Just our breathing?
Just our
Absolutely,
breathing.
you got it right.
So it does.
Our eating and breathing is...
Nothing.
Okay.
What about the Chinese?
It's all of us, man.
They leave a large carbon footprint these days.
I am praying that the Chinese, the high mortality rate in cancer in China is going through the roof, and they're scared of that. And I think one day, very soon, they're going to be the ones, the leader of solar energy. And I'm waiting for them to mass produce it on a mass scale. It's so cheap that we're all going to buy it. Cheap.
Long way to go to get there.
I think it's a long way to go, but the day that happens, bet on shorting oil in the stock market because the barrel will plummet so fast.
It's going to be a while.
You'll make a lot of money. But I'm hoping for China to do that. I don't know when that's going to happen, but my house in Cape Cod, I have solar hot water. I don't pay for hot water, so it works. I don't know.
The problem with the solar issue is not so much a technological issue. I mean, I think that reasonably, it's reasonable to assume that could be solved in a very short time. I think the real obstacle is going to be that solar power is it is distributed, whereas coal power plants are centralized, and that's where the money is.
It's a money issue.
That's where the money
Well, what's
is.
the money? Because you're buying coal cheap.
And the distribution of it is also where the money is. But if everybody had their own little solar operation, we'd all be independent of that.
I agree.
And that's the real obstacle, I think.
And I'm glad you brought that up because I'm hoping to do my house solar in the next couple of years. I'm in a bad area with light, but I should do it no matter what. The other thing is, you ever hear that commercial clean coal?
Yeah.
I wanted to clear that up.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as clean
No.
coal. When you burn a gram of coal, check it out. I can do this with a high school student. You can burn a gram of coal and measure the rate of sulfur that's off-gassed. The sulfur is gone in 10 years in the atmosphere, but that carbon that came out of that coal stays around for 100. So they're saying, well, we can clean up the sulfur that causes acid rain. Yes, you're right. You can take the sulfur out using sulfur scrubbers and get rid of the sulfur dioxide that causes acid rain. But they never address carbon because the coal companies don't call carbon dirty. They don't look at CO2, this invisible gas, as a heat trapper. So it's an oxymoron. There's no such thing as clean coal because the carbon component stays in the atmosphere for 100 years, and you ain't cleaning that up. You can get rid of the 10 years of sulfur dioxide by cleaning up the coal and helping stop acid rain, but what about the heat?
You think carbon sequestration is actually like feasible, real?
Well, it's not right now. It's not feasible. It's interesting science, and it's great one day when they master it. But where are you going to bury it? I looked at a CD from some wacko who wants to bury it at the bottom of ice cores. You know, it's just crazy. You know, they want to. You can't. Where are you going to bury it? The only way you can bury it is massive reforestation and remineralization of soils. Not only are we cutting trees down, but we're affecting the soils, the fertility of the soils. And there is a technology with remineralization of soils to make soil healthy again that can do it, but we're kind of not putting the money into it. Just not putting the money. Forget it, man. You look at the news lately, we just sold out. We gave big oil just won again. And I thought there was going to be a glimmer of hope in the last year. But this poor guy, this poor president, he just kowtowed and put his tail down. And
The market may do some of that for them with the increase in supply of natural gas.
that's another thing,
Yeah,
fracking. Look
fracking.
at the New York Times this past Sunday and type in natural gas fracturing. And there's a documentary that was nominated for an Oscar the other night called Gasland.
Yes,
It's a
Gasland's
really good
good.
documentary. It's all true. Happens.
Mm.
All the aquifers are contaminated. Natural gas, when it burns, yes, it's cleaner than carbon from oil, but to get it and to extract it and to get it to its production, you're doing a whole lot of pollution, and you're adding over 1,000 different chemicals into the aquifers and into the natural ecosystems by just getting the natural gas. So solar and wind and geothermal is the only way we can go.
The problem with
Or
that,
nuclear.
the problem with that is that's all interesting, but it makes up a microscopic proportion of our energy need and the cost of it. It's about